Governor Adeleke's victory at the just concluded Osun elections has generated reactions across the political divide, with supporters describing the outcome as a rejection of attempts to allegedly bully the incumbent, while opponents and political observers are assessing what the result means for the APC and the wider political realignment ahead of 2027. Recent analysis has also pointed to the election as an important test of INEC's preparedness ahead of the 2027 general elections. One of the issues likely to remain central after the election is the relationship between Adeleke and President Tinubu. Questions have been raised over reports of an understanding between both political parties, or rather both politicians, and whether Adeleke's political positioning towards the president could translate into a broader alliance ahead of 2027. That relationship is particularly significant because of the unresolved dispute over Osun local government allocations. Reports based on FAC data indicate that about 201.96 billion naira in statutory allocations due to the state's 30 local governments was withheld between March 2025 and May 2026. The federal government's position has been tied to the controversy surrounding the 2025 local government elections, while the Adeleke administration has repeatedly demanded the release of the funds. Attention will also remain on INEC and whether the commission can build on the Osun election as it prepares for 2027, particularly regarding voter confidence, result management, security, and the ability to conduct credible elections. To discuss this, we're now joined by political analyst Zekeri Idris. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. An absolute delight to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. There have been different discussions, and people have given different positions as to why Governor Ademola Adeleke emerged the winner of the Osun elections. But I want us to start on a different note. I don't know if you saw the tweets by a certain person alluding to the fact that agreement is agreement, inferring that there might have been some form of agreement between the president and Governor Adeleke. First of all, congratulating him and saying agreement is agreement. Do you perhaps think there might be an underlying agreement that we're not aware of? Especially because there was also an interview that he granted where he made mention of throwing his allegiance and his support behind President Bola Tinubu. I mean, this is not a secret, it's a known fact.
Thank you. Great question. First of all, let me join my voice with that of millions of Nigerians to congratulate Senator Governor Ademola Nuruddin Adeleke, the governor and governor-elect of Osun State, for his resounding victory in last Saturday's governorship election. To answer your question, I think the individual you are referring to, and I think our journalists should begin to call names. It's vitally important that we call names because this is public knowledge. The truth is public. The Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, being a typical meddlesome interloper, had gone to want to claim credit to deodorize the scathing defeats of his political party in Osun, claim that agreement is agreement, trying to suggest that there's some sort of agreement between the Osun State governor and the federal government to allow him win, which is, being a senior advocate of Nigeria, this is in every effect anti-democratical, that you suggest that a ruling party allows people to win. No, in a democracy, it is the people that decide. The power resides in the hands of the people. And in last Saturday's election, the Osun people decided vehemently that they wanted to retain Nuruddin Adeleke as their governor. So there is no such thing as an agreement. I am delighted that the governor had come out to say there is no agreement between him and anybody. And in any case, he fought to win his election. There are other pointers to suggest that this was just meddlesome interlopingness from the Minister of Aviation. The APC deployed 32 governors, deployed the Senate president. I want to believe that if the president even had the zest or the verb to do the rigors of campaign, we quite believe that he doesn't have it anymore. He would have been by himself in Osun campaigning for the Ambo, Oyebamiji, the candidate of the APC. They put there a strong candidate. When there were disagreements emanating from the primaries of the APC, they were personally resolved by the president. The governor of Osun State, Governor Adeleke, had attempted to join the APC. It was blocked. At least 2 ministers former governors, all went to Osun to take, steal the state, steal the vote of the state in favor of their political party. Unfortunately, the determined people of Osun said no. And Mercy said no, like they say in this popular Christian music. Mercy said no. The Osun people did not let go. And that victory is for Osun people. Anybody trying to appropriate that victory is being clever by her, like the present Minister of Aviation, who majors in minor things. The aviation sector 2 weeks ago was in turmoil. So much so that a bus was driven into the wrong way of one of our major airports. He has not attended to that. Rome was burning. Rome was burning. Festus, otherwise called Nero, was fiddling. He was somewhere abroad. But he's busy now, putting out tweets as it concerns Osun. We must tell our public office holders to major on major things. Festus Keyamo has now gained notoriety for majoring on minor things. Having said that, again, I want to congratulate the people of Osun, and I think this is a victory for the people of Osun. To answer the last part of your question, which asks, okay, the governor has thanked the president and has pledged to support the president in the next election. Very simple answer. The governor is not supposed to thank me. He is supposed to thank someone. And in any case, the president, apart from being the leader of his political party, is also supposed, I use this, I am qualifying it, is also supposed to be the father of the nation. When Oshomole won election in 2012, his governorship re-election, he thanked then President Goodluck Jonathan. Oshomole was of the ACN, Jonathan was of the PDP. There's nothing new in thanking the president. So what is new is that he has committed to support the president in the next election. And there are two reasons I think I can adduce for this. Number one is that the allocation of Osun State as we speak is still being held by the federal government. Over 200 billion of the local government allocation due to Osun State. No state has suffered this kind of vilification in the present political atmosphere in Nigeria. Interestingly, when the president was governor of Lagos State, then President Obasanjo had seized his local government allocation. He has now repeated history, but he has done it on a much larger scale. And if you keep in mind that the president claims to be a pro-democracy activist, you see clearly that the democratic credentials have failed in this case. Now, the second reason I can adduce for this is that Governor Adeleke is too scared to want to be on a collision course with the president, having just won a big fight. So, which is okay. You cannot tell a man how to behave eventually. But one thing I can tell you for free is that Adeleke cannot decide the votes of the Osun people when it comes to the presidential election. He has not been given that mandate. In the last presidential election, they voted against Tinubu. Osun people, Tinubu is from Osun. They voted against him in the last. In fact, Tinubu is the only president who lost his home state and lost his state of residence in a presidential election. He lost Osun State, where he is purportedly from, and lost Lagos State, where he lives, and where he has now claimed to be his state. So he lost both, and so by some stroke of magic, he still managed to emerge as president. Some of those things we'll look into in 2027. So Adeleke will not decide the Osun vote. They've given him his mandate. We should run with it. In 2027, Osun people will decide who they will vote for. And if you look at history, Osun people never vote for the ruling party. Just take a look at recent history from 1999 up till today.
That's a lot that's been said. But we have a lot of questions to ask regarding the performance, especially of the Inspector General of Police, especially with you in the fray, because I do recall that there's been a lot of protests where you've also joined the movement. But we would like to hear your thoughts on what you think the performance has been like or was like by the police force. But let's go on a quick break. After the break, we'll look at the impact that INEC had, especially on the people of Osun State, and also the police force, how they were able to step up the game, especially in Osun State. But stay with us. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. Zekeri Idris is our guest this morning as we continue the conversation surrounding the aftermath of the Osun Guber polls. Right before the break, I did ask, having been at the forefront of some of the protests of recent and, of course, in the past, what do you make of the Inspector General of Police's performance, especially looking at the Osun State Guber polls?
question. I was not physically in Osun. I could not have in any way been able to objectively gauge the performance, or if you like, the competence of the policing as per the election on Saturday. But there are a few pointers we can look at as outsiders who paid close attention to what was going on in Osun. First is that a number of persons lost their lives in the build-up and, of course, the eventual election. In the build-up to the election and the eventual election, a lot of persons, some say 18, some say 20, some say 30. There is no official statement stating categorically what happened as we beat up to that election and why a number of persons will have to lose their lives as we approach an election. It's an election. An election is you wake up in the morning, you go there, you vote your choice, and we are now advising that people should stay back and monitor those votes before they go home. So why is it a war? Is it Russia versus Ukraine? Why do people need to lose their lives in an election? That's question number one. And that is an indictment on the police. That people lost their life. We are not having people already being charged. We are not having people answering charges for some of those crimes committed, because we cannot use election as a pretext for murder. Murder is murder, whether it is done anywhere, whether it's done during an election, whether it is done during a festival, whatever it is. Once you take another person's life, it becomes a subject of state investigation and prosecution. And we have not. Number two, a senator, Senator Fidansi, like I said, we must put names to bad behavior going forward, had said publicly that his people should go and take the lives of those in the opposition party. And that is me putting it politely. He didn't say it as polite as I was saying it. He said it very raw and he said it direct. I am expecting by now that man should be charged, because the senator does not have immunity. Yes, I know he's an APC senator, but the APC members don't have a different constitution they answer to, and the rest of us who are not supporters or lovers of the APC answer to a different constitution. I now expect, and I'm using this opportunity again to call on the Inspector General of Police, that man is arrested, prosecuted to the full extent of the law. So if these two things are not addressed, I cannot, in any fact, in any case, say that the police had lived up to expectation. But there are, good takeaways. One of the good takeaways is that the Osun people were able to insist and enforce their right to pick their leaders. If they are taking a step back, even for a minute, it would have been a totally different scenario. And that is what we are advising Nigerians as we approach 2027. Take it personal. Vote, stay with the vote, escort the vote to the collation center. When you get to the collation center, make sure it is collated, escort the vote to the state collation center, and from there, leave it for the rest of us. That is what you must do at your local level. I can promise you that the votes in my polling unit will not be stolen. So that's why I'm wondering where the Edo State governor will see his 2.5 million votes, because I vote in Edo State, I vote in the local government in Benin City. So we'll be waiting to see where you manufacture those 2.5 million votes. But I think what has happened in Osun is a stark reminder that if you do not channel all of the resources and all of the instruments of governance to improve the life of the people, you'll be sorely disappointed at the polls. If you believe, some of this arrogance comes from the belief that you can write results. Nobody will write results in 2027. The people that will go to court in 2027 will be the APC and those who plan to write the results. Nigerians will not go to court. Everything will be resolved at the level of the unit and the coalition center. And I think they must take this home. Osun has shown, and it's an advice, they still have a short window, about 5 months. Go back and work for the people. Go back and work for the people. Otherwise, you'll be sorely disappointed.
Now, Zekeri, let's talk about the road to 2027. I mean, Osun State seems to have been a litmus test. We've seen INEC deploy BVAS, result on coordination. And we spoke to an senior INEC official yesterday. He seems to have given them the pass mark. So from what we witnessed in Osun State, looking at against all odds, the high voter turnout, relatively high, in comparison with what it was in the past, and the fact that there was no major security incidents, would you say all is well? We getting our democracy improved as we inch towards the 2027 presidential elections?
For the Osun case, all is well that ends well. It has ended well on the side of the people. So that is okay. We can take that as a win for democracy. We can take that as a win for the people. As we approach the 2027 election, I think there will even be higher voter turnout because the numbers are stacked. As we speak today, Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world. We have the single highest number of poor people living in any geographical space across the world. And if you compare that with countries like India, that has 7 times our population, countries like China, countries like Indonesia, countries like Brazil, you will begin to see that we are in serious trouble. How can we have this number of poor people living in a geographical space? And it seems that there's no government. Today, the highest number of hungry people anywhere in the world, the single highest number of poor people living in any geographical space in the world. 35 million of us are hungry. And when we say someone is hungry, it's not like you have eaten in the morning, before 12 you are saying I'm hungry. That does not qualify you as a hungry person. When we are talking of hunger, we are talking of those who do not know where the next meal will come from, acute hunger. And 35 million Nigerians are in that category. A population that is bigger than the population of Ghana. Bigger. If you form a Federal Republic of Hungry Nigerians, they'll be bigger than Ghana as a nation. They can form a whole nation of their own. Only hungry Nigerians, led by Bola Tinubu. So that is that. Nigeria today is the 4th most terrorized country anywhere in the world. If you now juxtapose that with the fact that we live in a world that has Afghanistan, that has Iran, that has Iraq, that has Somalia, that has Yemen, that has Libya, that has Russia, that has Ukraine, and we qualify, that has Mexico with all the drugs going on there, that has Ecuador, that has all of those countries in the Southern Hemisphere, that has countries like Guyana, and in Africa, Dr. Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, and elsewhere. If you now compare that, the number of troubled countries we have in the world, and Nigeria is ranked 4th most terrorized, you should genuinely be worried. We talk about insecurity. So if you aggregate all of these problems, multidimensional poverty, hunger, insecurity, out of school children, that's another very important metric. 20 million of our children are not going to school. 20 million. So future recruitment pool for Boko Haram, Lakurawa, Mahmuda, bandits, and all of the other non-state actors that are taking over spaces in Nigeria, collecting taxes, maiming, raping, stealing, kidnapping. If you aggregate all of these factors, economic, political, and otherwise, you can conclude that this government has to go. And the only way for this government to go is for sufficient numbers to come out on election day, vote at that election, see their votes to the collation center, see it from the collation center to the state collation center, and at that point, there's nothing anybody can do. And a president has been voted out in Nigeria before. It is not something new. And if this president is voted out, he will go back to Bodillion and continue his life. That is just the truth. So the next election, we have even more turnout. Nigerians are more switched on. Nigerians know that they must take interest in the elections in their country. And the only way to change governance in your country is by participating in election. So you will see a higher voter turnout like you have seen in Osun in the next general election.
All right. You've said that we'll see, worse in the next general elections. Or I'm hoping for the best. You've also called for investigation into the persons like Senator Osun. There were also certain videos that we saw. It seems that vote trading, vote buying, has become the norm in our elections, and people do it openly. We've now started to excuse it by saying, oh, collect their money, or don't vote for them. Will a time ever come where people understand that even collecting the money, both the giver and the taker are committing a crime? How do we ensure that we will get there?
Bribery is a crime in Nigeria. Offering anyone money to do what they ought to do normally is considered a crime. But when the government is the one bribing, it becomes a problem. And the vote buying you see on election day is just an aspect of vote buying. There are other aspects of vote buying, and I will explain some of them for you. City boys and city girls have been going around the country sharing fridge, generator, rice, beans, wrapper, money across the states. They've done it in most of the states. That is a form of vote buying. The federal government are today issuing what you can call it a bribe. It's effectively a bribe in the name of, you are supporting traders, you are supporting market women, you are supporting. If you want to support any of these people, there should be an established policy of government which they draw from. But when you do it by hand, you already are giving bribe. In Osun State, people came out to dance with rice that were given to them with the poster of a governorship candidate of the APC. I've not seen the one of Accord. I'm only talking about the one I saw. And then if anybody saw the one of Accord, they should also show us. No problem. I'm ready to talk about everybody. That poster is there. If people are now hungry and you are now disingenuously giving them rights, you are invariably trying to profit from the unfortunate situation that most Nigerians have found themselves. It's called vote buying through and through. So vote buying is not only the one that happens on election day, but we know that there is hunger. And like someone said on Twitter yesterday, and I felt it was very ingenious. He said that if not that APC gave him rights, he would not have had the power or the energy to vote according to the party. So we are advising, take the rights of whoever is offering you rights and vote your conscience on election day. Don't just vote your conscience. Make sure you cook extra rice because you'll be staying with the vote to ensure that those votes count at the unit, at the ward, and at the state. By the time we are done conducting election, you have a proper government in office, we can guarantee you that you'll be so empowered that you don't need anyone to give you rights again. You'll be properly empowered to buy rights for yourself subsequently going forward. So vote buying and bribery for votes has become a national lifestyle under this government and under the government that has been running this country at least for the last 10 years. We hope that sometime in the future we're able to get it right, that citizens don't need to vote. And again, my message is to the middle class. There are the middle class that are unbribable, the lecturers, the journalists like the four of you sitting in the studio, the people who work in the bank, who work in the corporate sector, who work in the, those guys who are okay. You have a car, you have a family, you have a wife, you have a husband, you have your kids, they go to good schools. But these are the guys that don't vote. You second the choosing, the picking of the nation's leader to those who are suffering multidimensional poverty. And you are shocked that they make the choice they make. So the president that we have today is even not indicative of the people who picked him. I mean, the president did not have primary school, did not have secondary school, has a checkered history of returning monies for drug and all of those other things. And he's your president. But we wear suit every day and we're senator, because I must add myself, we are all part of this confusion. And some of us, we are senator, you in the studio wear suit, and some of those persons watching us in the offices in Ikoyi, Lekki, VI, and Abuja, Maitama, Sokoro, in Benin and elsewhere, watching us, they don't vote. You have a voter card. It's to open bank account and to show that you're a Nigerian. You don't vote. You leave it in the hands of the agberos, of those who cannot choose for themselves, or those who cannot decide for themselves. The middle class must wake up, because it is the middle class that is being decimated by this government. Today, by the turn of the new year, about 79% of Nigerians will be sliding into multidimensional poverty. That will be about 180 million from 230. Where will those people come from? The middle class. So the middle class must stand up.
I mean, these opinions are clear, and they're your opinions, and in line with what we've seen and heard, especially build up to the Osun elections and after the elections, which is what we've discussed. But we look forward to have you again. Highlight some of the key issues, especially bedeviling Nigeria's growth in the aspect of having a free and fair election ahead of 2027. Thank you so much, Idris, for speaking with us. Do have a great day ahead of today.
Thank you.
Thank you.